There are roughly 20 million students in the United States. Most of these students were not eligible for a $1,200 stimulus payment just due to the fact that most of these students were probably claimed as dependents. So if you're a college student or know someone who is, you're gonna wanna watch this video because you can be entitled to aid as much as $3,000 or even more. This aid is supposed to reach as many students as possible unless ultra-wealthy Ivy League colleges takes it all. I'm just kidding, most of them are not accepting this money. What's up everyone, my name is Naam. So on this channel, I typically talk about personal finance. So in this video, I wanted to go over the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund. So this fund is already set in place. This is not a proposal, so this is real money that college students can get. With the CARES Act, which was passed on March 29th, even though that most college students were neglected with the stimulus check, the CARES Act did provide a $14.25 billion higher education relief fund for college institutions to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. To find out if your school is receiving any money from this relief fund, check out the link right here. I also post a link in the description below. So how this Higher Education Relief Fund would work is that the colleges would have to apply for the funding, and once they receive that funding from the United States Department of Education, that's when they can start dispersing these grants to students based on their financial need. So whenever the school does receive the funding, they can use 50% of it on the school due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the other 50% of funds must be distributed as emergency financial aid to students who had their semester disrupted by this pandemic. The Department of Education did make one thing clear with this fund is that the cash must be provided directly to the students. They said that this aid can be used for anything under the students' costs such as attendance, food, housing, course materials, technology, healthcare, and childcare. The fund also stated that colleges are not allowed to take the students' portion of the aid as a reimbursement. So say for instance, your college is nice and they decided to reimburse you for the semester's room and board. The college cannot take your aid since they reimbursed you. Where this gets a little messy is that the institutions are the ones that are responsible for distributing the emergency funds to students, and they must develop their own process and priorities for dispersing this fund to the students. Some colleges may be faster than others, so just be on the lookout on your college's homepage. So as of April 21st, the Department of Education did provide clarification on how colleges can disperse these funds. So the information is out there. We're basically just waiting on the colleges to figure out what to do with this money. I'll give you a few examples from colleges that already started to implement this emergency relief aid. I'll also post the links of the sources in the description if you want to check them out for yourself. So some colleges such as the University of Washington, Ohio State, and USC did provide information of this fund on their website. So first, let's talk about eligibility. So the Department of Education did say that they're only limiting the funding to students who are eligible to receive federal financial aid and were enrolled in a program that was on campus prior to the transition of online classes due to the pandemic. Even if you haven't filed a FAFSA application, but if you are eligible, you may be able to receive this aid. Also inside the guidelines, they did say that undocumented students, international students, and students who were enrolled exclusively on an online program would not be eligible. Even though international students may be ineligible for this federal aid, some colleges they do have grants where they can provide aid that's very similar. So depending on where you go to college, it's really going to determine on how they are going to disperse the funds and how much you will receive. From what I researched, there are many schools like USC, Ohio State, and Central Florida requiring students to fill out a form to receive the aid. So here's a form from USC. So on this form, they say that the maximum that any student can receive is $3,000. They can request funds to be used for basic needs such as food, housing, education-related expenses, and other expenses such as healthcare. So for the University of Washington, they say that they can provide emergency aid funds for a standard relief grant of $1,200 per student and $1,700 for students with dependents based on their family income that was reported on their FAFSA. But for some universities, they did not say how much money that they would give out. So when I was researching, I went on the Ohio State's website and they did not state the maximum that a student can receive. So now let's talk about how you can receive this funding. So per the direction of the Department of Education, they said that colleges must provide emergency financial aid grants to students using checks, electronic transfer payments, debit cards, and payment apps. So depending on the college that you go to, most likely the funds would be dispersed to your student's account. That's what USC is doing, so I'm pretty sure that most colleges are doing something very similar. Now let's talk about when you may receive this money. So there's really no clear answer for this because it really depends on the college. The University of Washington, they already started to disperse its funding. Other colleges, they haven't set a date yet. And some colleges are just doing a first come, first served basis. These colleges are experiencing high volumes of applications, so it may take a little time depending on when you applied. So now let's talk about if this funding would affect your financial aid. So according to USC, they said that any funding from the COVID-19 Emergency Assistance Fund would not impact your student financial aid package just due to the fact that the CARES Act funding is not categorized as financial aid. This is a time-sensitive matter, so you have to be quick with the applications if there is one. Just double check with your college's website to see when the deadline may be. I wish I learned about this information much sooner so I could provide it to you guys. So if you guys have any questions about this aid, the majority of colleges out there are aware of this fund, so just contact your school for the latest information. Alright guys, so that pretty much does it for me. Let me know in the comments below if you receive any emergency funding from your colleges. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys stimulate that like button. It really helps out the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you're bored in the house bored, check out my videos over here.